I don't even know who's on here. Hello, everybody. Let's see who's on here. If you're on here, please comment so that I know that you're on here. Is it just a Peter Brady party?
Might be. Wait, did you send out the link for the meeting to everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, they can join through YouTube.
Gotcha.
I did it with the kids, and they figured it out.
Cool.
So what were you saying about we'll give them like 5 minutes because I'm sure people are going to, Fenari said he's coming. What would you say about the concept with the Google? That's similar to mine.
Oh yeah. So I haven't listened to this podcast in like many months, but I used to listen to it every week and then it just got to be too much. It's two people and it's called the Google Teacher Tribe. They basically talk about Google tools and like ideas for using them, different extensions. They'll answer questions from like listeners and stuff like that. Yeah, but it's like specifically for Google tools. So they talk a lot about ways you can use slides. They'll talk about like different extensions and like what they like and they don't like. And they'll do just like different segments in the show.
3 people are in.
That's weird that I can't know who's in with me.
How's everybody doing? Tell me some stories. I'm going to start probably in like 2 more minutes.
I see them. Sorry. I could see
the chat.
Who's in it now. Yeah.
Yeah, so like if I'm spieling and my face is on the screen, you can kind of talk in the chat.
Okay.
We have tons of people in the chat. They could see the chat too, though, so they know I'm lying.
Cool.
Are you guys ready? All 3 of you. All right. Here we go, guys. Just going to introduce, got my little banner up there, the Distance Thinking podcast. I definitely thought about the name and couldn't come up with something clever. This is about as clever as I got. I kind of tied in the think tank ideas. I just wanted to kind of go over first some of the goals of the podcast here. I basically want to meet once a week because I feel like, especially with the being at home and feeling claustrophobic, that just kind of having a chance to meet up once a week will be fun for us. From week to week, I'm hoping to get tons of your feedback so I could kind of start talking about some of the things and moving forward in ways that are good just for our school district. So I've been going like crazy getting back into things as far as technology. When I went to library school, people think that's funny. I learned all these things and I came back in the classroom and I realized that in a physical setting, the kids really didn't want to be on technology as much as I thought that they would. And now there's a need for it. So I'm getting back into it. It's a lot of the same tools that were out 10 years ago, probably less. And now it's just a matter of, for me to filter through all of them for you guys and help you guys out. And I know it's overwhelming right now with all the different tools that are out there. So let's see which ones works for you. And let's talk about adjusting to distance learning. Again, I'm not here to give you guys answers. I'm learning along the way too. This week I've been doing meetups, a couple of them. I did a couple of hangouts. I'm still not completely comfortable with it. I did a podcast with my class this week. I'm making mistakes as well. So my goal is that you guys keep emailing me. You guys keep asking me questions. I'm going to talk to the other librarians. I'm going to talk to the tech facilitators. I'm going to talk to other teachers, and we're going to get through this together. I do hope that this is an opportunity for us as teachers to kind of put ourselves out there and show what we do, because I think this pandemic has kind of shined the light on us and brought a little attention to us. And hopefully we can get through this and come up big. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about today, or kind of go into, is just the adjustment. All right. We have a special guest here who, last time I saw her, she had you're not on the camera yet.
Oh, darn.
There you go. Amanda Wegman is our guest. Last time I saw Amanda, she was in the library, somewhat of a freak out. So I thought maybe she'd be a good person to talk to as far as adjusting to distance learning. Amanda, what are some of the frustrations that you faced? Oh, actually, first, let's start off and say, like, do you have any funny stories staying home in a house? We were at day 7 right now, I think. Probably more secluded, day 3, with a dog and another math teacher.
So it's been fun. Working from home with your spouse is one thing, but working from home with your spouse that does the same exact job as you is a whole other challenge. So we have been navigating that and not bombarding each other with questions. So that's been fun. The dogs are adjusting to us being here all the time, getting to watch all of the squirrels and leaves outside, causing a lot of freakouts, but it's been okay. And I have calmed down since I saw you last, so that's good. So I'll get into some challenges, but if you don't mind me just going off for a second, when you were talking about like digital tools and us thinking that kids are really into technology, but finding out that like maybe they're not so much, it just reminded me of some research that I recently read. It was like an article about myths in education. And one of the myths that they went into was this idea that this generation of students are like digital natives. And we assume that because they've grown up with technology that they'll know how to use it the way that we want them to. And I think that, so the point behind the article was that that's really false. And if we don't show kids how to use the technology the right way, so to speak, they're not going to be able to do it. And I think that that's especially important as we move into this whole remote learning thing, because we're kind of assuming that if we host these tools and we use all these things, they're going to understand how to interact with them without us telling them. And I just think that we need to be cognizant of the fact that this isn't what they're used to. So we're going to need to hold their hand a little bit more just using the actual tools. So as far as what my frustrations, I guess, this first week, it's really been managing all of the comments and things coming in. So it's like I have comments coming in on Google Classroom. I have things posted to the stream on Google Classroom. I've got emails coming in. I've got remind messages, and as well as now Google Chat. So like Google Hangouts, you can chat as well as do video meets. So now kids are able to sort of like instant message you, which is great. It's just like a lot of managing, especially in Google Classroom, managing all those comments. So comments like on assignments, private comments, public comments, assignments submitted, yada, yada. It's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically the feedback I'm getting. Now, no teachers here are talking in the boards. I'd like to get actually some of your comments as far as your frustrations. I know how many people's emails have just been out of control this week. And the question I have is really like, what types of questions are students asking you? Is it like tech support questions? Is it, are you getting a lot of the same questions over and over again? I mean, you're a math teacher, so I think things are a little bit different in there, but what kind of questions are students asking?
So for me, there are some tech questions, but that's easy because once I answer it once, I don't usually need to answer it again. For me, it's mostly like doing the math questions. So when we had left, we were kind of in the middle of something. So we had decided to spend this week finishing this last week, finishing that. So, but even though the students had already learned it, they had a lot of questions. So it was a lot of questions coming in like by way of private comments on their assignments on Classroom. And eventually I was able to get them on board with like Google Hangouts. So they've been kind of dropping in for video office hours, which has been easier. But I think, yeah, it's mostly the comments coming in of like math help.
Now you bring up
But
Google
they're all
Hangouts.
private.
We're going to talk about Hangouts later. Just to the 4 people who are listening and not commenting, if you could just tell me how interested you are in doing a Hangout, because I'm glad that you're on with me, because I have not been on Hangout yet. So you can kind of talk about some of the questions or go over some of the questions I have. So let's actually just get into some of the technology tools that I feel like can make your life easier. The first one's Google Classroom. So the way that I'm going to organize this podcast is everything, the agenda is going to be on my website. So if anyone goes to my website, I've been trying to update it pretty regularly. And on the left-hand side, there's one that says Distance Thinking Podcast. And it'll have my agendas with some resources on it. So after the podcast, you can kind of follow up on it. The first thing that I really wanted to go over was Google Classroom. Now, my Google Classroom certainly is not organized like unbelievable. I mean, I'm learning as I go along. But one of the things that I did with my class that I feel like helps is on the top of my classroom. Now, I don't know how familiar, I was going over with some people today. Most people just see the stream. To me, the stream gets a little bit overwhelming. I usually organize my stuff through classwork. So for the teachers who haven't had laptops every day, you probably haven't had to organize things this specifically, but when you create lessons, it does help. If you look at it, to create topics right down here. So the topics will put things into categories, and I have not done a great job as far as it should be by module, module 9, module 10, module 11 as I go along, but they are titled based on my chapters. So that helps you organize your work. So if you see, mine is kind of organized. What I'm doing right now is the world issues, class resources, I usually post this to the top, but I feel like it's getting overwhelming right now. So I'm just keeping my new project to the top since it's a little bit out of order. And then what I recommend doing to organize your classes and to help out is just to create maybe like an office here, which is not what this is. My agenda is my office. And if you go into here, for me, I just am kind of posting to keep the kids organized, like a little bit of a timeline, a daily log, so that everything's all not in one place. Everything should go on their Google Calendar, but I don't know if students are using their Google Calendar to organize themselves. So I just feel like it was easier for me to put up a little bit of table of my assignments when things are due so that students aren't overwhelmed, because I think we forget that the kids are a little bit overwhelmed with this transition as well. One of the other things I was going to say, and I don't know how you're dealing with it, Amanda, but I feel like we need to go slow.
Yeah.
My students
100%.
in my class actually like it. Most of the feedback has been positive because now they can do things in their own time and at their own pace. So they like the self-pacing aspect of things. But I know from my experience, when you log into like something like Google Classroom and every teacher is giving the assignments there, and it hadn't happened in the past, for them it's overwhelming as well. So that's just how I organize my page to make my stuff clearer to my class. Do you have any tips as far as that?
I do something similar. I am trying out your idea of like one space where they can ask questions with one of my classes this week that I think will utilize it. So I've sort of just made a big post at the top of the classwork in its own topic, and it's called questions, and it just says post questions here. And I kind of am just going to try out letting them post like all of their content questions to that thread to hopefully alleviate some of the back and forth in the private comments with the same questions over and over again.
Yeah, that's one of the things I have here. For me, I think we talked about this. So I told the students in my class that to post all their questions regarding the project in the agenda area, which they've started to do now.
Right.
And I give extra points if they can answer each other's questions. So that like I'm trying to find ways to take some of the excess time away from, not me personally, because I don't have as many students in classes, but from teachers in general, just to kind of develop a process. So that's like one thing that can help.
Yeah, Finari just said it helps to schedule the assignments. I agree. So I personally have been scheduling my assignments just like the day before to post in the morning. This way it's consistent, and also so if a kid wants to work on something early, they can, and then I know it's out of the way, so I'm not like rushing the day of to go and schedule everything. But also to your point about slowing down, I think we just need to understand that this is going to be slower than it is at school. Like something that we could accomplish in 40 minutes in front of the class is going to take a much longer time this way. And that's okay. We just need to be aware of that.
Yes, especially as you introduce new topics or concepts. If you're working on old things and kind of tying things in, the flow kind of stays the same or similar. But as soon as you put something new, it's going to take them some time because there's going to be questions.
For sure.
The other thing I just wanted to show in Google Classroom, how many of you in the chat right now use the message boards?
I don't think I know what that is.
So it's where you create a question. So you go create.
Oh, yeah, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
The reason why I like it is students want immediate feedback. I mean, for math, it's going to be a little bit different. But this sometimes, if you get too busy as a teacher, you post a question, it gives them a little bit of work. You can check in and see where the class is at. Other students see the feedback that you're giving to other students, which you kind of miss in a distance learning. And you can get students to give feedback to each other. The other things I've noticed when you use the message board, so you just ask a question right here, and you post it the same way as anything else. You can have an attachment and put a video and ask a question on a video. There's all different ways that you can use it. I like it from a literacy perspective, because when students write to me, a lot of times I get garbage, but when they know that the other students in the class are going to be reading their comments, it actually improves their writing. So for me, I might have them post their theses here so they can look at other theses. So then they see the ones that are good when I write good comments, and they can compare theirs to other students. And a lot of times that really, really helps them. Chorba says, step one is getting everyone online, and not all students are there yet. Yeah, I mean, that's a problem that I know teachers are facing. I would say this, we are handing out laptops today, so I think those gaps are going to narrow a little bit. I'm not sure how that's going to work with the internet, but I think more and more students will be able to get online. What do you feel with your classes, Amanda?
It's been pretty good. I do have a few students that aren't able to access things, but we're working on it. The other thing is, I think that it's important that we kind of keep the tools simple, knowing that a lot of students might be accessing stuff through a phone, or whatever the case may be, or have limited internet connection. I think it's important that we don't try to throw a million tools at them, or tools that really require robust technology and a lot of bandwidth. That has helped a lot, like just posting simple things that they could access from any kind of device is important.
Yeah, that's why I think like early on, let's just stay in our Google Suite as much as we can. They're familiar with it. All the Google tools seem to link.
Right.
If you're a teacher,
or any tools that they've used before.
What's that?
Like anything you've used in your class, I think is fair game, but I feel like now isn't the time to. So Chorba before was saying, I think something about there's a lot of information, like a lot of tools, a lot of suggestions, excuse me, and that's overwhelming. I agree. So I think we need to keep it to what we have already used to make it easier for everybody.
I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm overwhelmed, and I've kind of been keeping up with it at least a little bit over the course of time. And now that I'm just like kind of getting back into it, I'm like, oh wait, Canvas, I use that. What was that? And like, what's this tool? What's that tool? Plus, additionally, what's happening right now is the vendors and companies are realizing that this is great marketing for them, and then they're being really nice and giving free access to. So there's so many more things available right now. I'm getting like emails every day and going through things, and the other librarians keep pushing things, and I'm trying not to push a lot out to staff, but make my website a place where people can go if they're actually like, if they're looking. Like I want it to fill a need. I don't want to like just throw things at people. Like this is the problem I'm having. Do you have a tool that can solve this problem? Those are the emails I really want to start getting from teachers. Or this has really worked for me. I really think other teachers could use it. Or I did this, it's horrible, don't use it again. The purpose of this podcast is really just to meet up and like once a week, what worked, what didn't work, and kind of move on as a staff, because we have so many teachers in this district that I just think that'll help. Isma just joined in. She's someone who's been emailing me. She'll be able to give feedback as we move on to the next. So the next thing I want to talk about outside of Google Classroom is like the last tool that I wanted to talk about this week. Ismat stays up till 5 o'clock in the morning lesson planning now. She was only staying up till 3:30 in the morning during non-distance learning times. So she's the only person I can email if I'm wake up in the middle of the night at 4 and I get an immediate email response back. And it's nice that she came in, because the next thing we're going to talk about, and the reason why I'm bringing it up is because teachers have been asking, is the virtual meets. I think our district has, Isma cannot join on the audio. You can be a guest at another time, Isma. So the tool I'm using right now is a podcasting tool. I wouldn't recommend using this tool for your classes. This is just easier to streamline it so everyone's not talking at once, and then I could record it and it goes right to YouTube. So if anybody missed it, they can listen to it. So that's why I'm using this one. Isma did not sleep last night. She probably doesn't sleep. So Isma's perfect that she's in the room, because I know she's been emailing me back and forth about the meets. I do think the meetings are a good tool to use right now, because I think students want face-to-face contact. Now, I think the way to organize it is to not make meets mandatory, because obviously some students just have like maybe one laptop for a class, and they're sharing it with a brother and sister, and it's hard to schedule times where everybody can make it. But I do think it's a tool that we can/should start using. Amanda, what do you think?
I totally agree. I have had several students drop in to ask questions. I've had a couple drop in just to say hi. They told me that lifted their spirits, that they could just pop in and like see people and say hello, which was really nice. And then I also teach a very small AP class. There's only 5 students, and luckily all of them are connected. So we were able to meet all 6 of us in a Google Hangout to kind of talk about what's going on with changes with AP. And that was really nice, because it was almost like being back in the classroom. Technology definitely did not alter their personalities, that's for sure. So it was nice. I think it was like not only helpful to get everybody's questions answered, but it was kind of like a spirit lifter for everybody.
Yeah,
which is important.
So for the teachers who are like uncomfortable using these tools, what I would recommend is just trying. And the first time you do it, just meet and talk. Don't even have an agenda or anything. The one thing I would like to say is it's not really a tool to record a lesson. It's more of like an online office hours. You can present live if you feel comfortable with that, and present notes and stuff like that. I would use it more, or for my class, to go over and review work, or maybe to hand out and explain an assignment, and then meet up and answer questions along the way. So if kids are making the same mistakes on an assignment, I would go over some of the mistakes. Yeah, anything to add?
Yeah, I just use it for like drop-in office hours. So I'll say from this time to this time, I'll be on Hangouts. Here's the link, and then they can pop in and out. But I have done it like a couple kids were like, hey, can I chat with you right now? I have some questions, and I'll do that too. As far as recording lessons go, that sounds like a future topic, but I was able yesterday to record a whole math lesson. So I got this like tablet thing right here that I can write on. So I plug it into the laptop and I write. So I was able to record a whole smartboard lesson using a Chrome extension and then turn it into Edpuzzle and put some questions in there, which was really cool. So future topic, but
Yeah, I have that in the bottom of my notes, Edpuzzle, and Screencast-O-Matic and all those tools, which is kind of a different concept. Let's go over the meets quick. So the district is pushing, or technology pushed early on, 2 different platforms. There's the Google Hangout Meet, and then there is Zoom. I was on Zoom this week. Zoom's actually really easy to use. It's quick. Both of them are handing out new free options. So when we get back to normality, we probably will not have access to the same functionality that we do right now. So Zoom just made what was paid free. I think you were only allowed to have 10 people in a meeting before, and now they expanded it so you can have as many as you, it's like 1,000 or something like that in a meet. I thought it's actually an easier to use, but the feedback I got, Ismat used it and she had some audio issues with it. I didn't have any audio issues in the one that I did, but I would recommend, and I'm going to recommend, to use Google Hangouts Meet, because again, it integrates with the platform that we're already using, because we are a Google Suite district, and if kids have Chromebooks, they don't have to download software to the Chromebooks, which I think with Meet they do. So do you want to quickly explain, Amanda, what Hangout Meet is? And then I'm going to go over a couple things and show you guys on the screen. I have links to tutorials on my site too, which are probably going to be better than anything I could show you. But there's just a couple things I learned last night that I think would help. So Amanda, can you just explain quick?
About Hangouts and stuff?
Hangouts Meet, yeah.
Yeah. So Hangouts Meet is basically something you have access to through the Google Suite. So it's up in your little waffle thing, your little 9 dots. You would just like select Meet. Can I share my screen?
Can you?
Hang on one second.
I'm not sure if you can.
I can.
Okay.
Do you guys see my computer? Yeah, okay. So it's up here in this little waffle thing, and you would just select Google Meet. And then what you can do is just join or start a meeting. So I'll just do this every time I want to offer office hours. I don't like schedule them or anything. So you would just click, you don't have to put a name, and then you'll see right here a link would pop up. So I would just copy and paste this into my Google Classroom stream at whatever time I was going to put office hours. And then it's really simple. Kids can just click and then join the meeting. So they would literally just click, and they can do this from a computer. They could do it from a phone. They could even phone in and just have audio. Also, if they have a computer that doesn't have a webcam, that's fine. I think it's more important that they can see me than I can see them, because I'm the one who's like writing stuff to show them. But it's been really, really helpful. I think that if you tried to do it with a class all at once of more than like 5 people, it would be a little crazy because they're not used to using this. I've used Zoom meetings for college classes with more than 5 people, but obviously we're all adults and understand that we need to mute ourselves and whatever. So it was a little bit easier. Yeah. So the other thing is Google, I don't know, I think it's the chat one. So if you were to go back into that little waffle and select chat, it's almost like an instant messenger that they can use to just like message you back and forth really quick. It's been easier for me than comments on Classroom or Remind, because I feel like notifications there tend to get lost really easy. So if they just have a quick question and they can see that I'm online, they can just type in real quick and then I can answer them, which has been cool.
That's like another reason why I'm recommending Google, even though I feel like Zoom's actually easier to use, and Zoom has a whiteboard function, which Google doesn't have the whiteboard function, but you could easily just open up a tab with a whiteboard on it and work off that way. But the one thing that's nice is if you're answering a student's question and things get complicated, you can turn it into a Meet because they both of them integrate together. So once you call on the audio, you can then share your screen with that student if that's necessary. So like a chat can expand into a Meet, and which is kind of a nice tool. One of the things that I saw last night that I thought was interesting or cool. So for like someone like Fanar who likes to schedule things, you can actually schedule a Meet in your calendar.
Yeah.
So looks like there's a little lag here. All right. If you're in your calendar and say I wanted to schedule let's pull it back on here, a Meet for Wednesday, April 20. I mean, I'm off on my date. But it says add rooms, location, or conferencing. If you hit add conferencing, it right there schedules the Meet, and that's the link that you have right there. And you could put that link into your Google Classroom, which is kind of nice. The other thing, if it was just like one class, you could actually put it on your class's calendar down here. That's like a nice little organizational tool. I'm not sure if you can share it with multiple classes at that point. But that's just this little scheduling thing that might help some people. Another thing I just wanted to go over is when you get to the meeting here, and I'm not sure if I'm gonna have problems. There's two different options, and I don't know if you went over this, Amanda. You can either join or present. So if you're joining a Meet, you're basically setting up a room, and that's where all the students' like heads are gonna pop up, and you're just gonna kind of have a chat, which can be overwhelming. If you're presenting the way that I'm understanding it, you're now in control. And you can show your screen, and because now we have advanced functions when you present, and I'm not going to do that because it'll mess up my podcast, on the right hand corner you can go and you can record your presentation, which is kind of how, if I'm actually going to introduce new content, I would do it so that the students who can't watch live could then watch the recording. And then they can get all the information, but they wouldn't necessarily get it in real time, and you'd still be answering the other students' questions. So that would help as well.
So one thing about that, maybe this is because I was in a meeting and not a present. I was under the impression that you should be able to record a meeting. That didn't work for me, and I think that's because Hamilton hasn't enabled that, but I don't know if that would be different for presenting.
When did you do it?
Like Friday, I think.
Yeah, maybe that is. I mean, that's something I'm going to have to play around with because I know in the Zoom I couldn't record because they hadn't enabled that yet. So like I said, that stuff is changing pretty quickly. That's just a brief overview. Does anyone have any questions in the chat? So like I said, Meet or Zoom, I would recommend using Meet. Now go back to the podcast site over here for our weekly challenge, which is kind of what I'm getting up next. Let me throw up my flashy banner.
Nice.
I would say, why doesn't everyone try to do a Meet sometime this week? I have two videos, or I have videos here. I have a Zoom video. Richard Byrne, I kind of use him for everything, free technology for teachers. I like him, or liked him in the past, and now I'm getting back to listening to him because he's never more than 5 minutes, but gives a good overview without it being too complicated. He'll give you the basics for a tool. I mean, to me, the only way to learn a tool is to play around with it. It's nice to watch a 5-minute video so you have like a little bit of an idea of what the tool can do. And then I found this one this morning with the Google Meet for remote and online learning. I thought it was another good one to complement it. So weekly challenge, depending on your skill level, if you wanted to do a Meet and record it and broadcast it, go for it and do a lesson. But I would recommend just meeting with your class and kind of opening in like a little, maybe 2 different classes, or maybe if you have an honors class, starting with the honors class and working our way down, because I know the lower level classes probably have less access to technology. Most of the feedback I have was positive. I know Mayo talked to me. He's like, he was so excited that he did a meet, and he was surprised that the kids who showed up were the kids who never show up to class, but they showed up to his meet and like they had so much fun with it. So, I mean, it doesn't even have to be the first time you do it, like a lesson or a learning. It could just be a fun meetup with your class just to get your face back out there, because I think our kids need that. Amanda?
Sorry, I'm just responding in the chat. Ismat said that she's recorded a meeting with a student, so hopefully that works for all of us now. But yeah, I think that's a good goal for everybody, is to kind of try that by the end of the week. I do think part of this that's been pretty cool that Jay and I were talking about actually is that we're getting more interaction with kids that we didn't really interact with that much in person, which is cool.
By the way, I'm doing the spirit thing with the hat.
Nice.
I didn't understand it because I got the email separate, and I was like, is there an explanation behind this? And then it was, I guess, in a previous email I didn't read. I'm gonna start finishing it up now. I hope this was helpful in some ways. I feel like it maybe was a little bit all over the place, but again, you could follow on my website. I did get some tips for online that I came up with presenting. Script what you are going to say. If you're going to do a lesson, make sure you find a quiet place in your house. If you're going to do a tutorial or any video, make it short. This is a podcast, so it's a little bit longer, but they say like not more than 5 minutes. You're better doing multiple 5-minute videos than to do like one 15-minute video, because the kids will be more likely to watch a 5-minute, 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 5-minute. Look at the camera, which I've been bad doing today because I'm learning too. Put your face on the screen. I guess research indicates that kids are more likely to pay attention if your face is on the screen as opposed to just screencasting a screen. Try to change screens as much as possible. Give them different things just like you would in a classroom, and create questions. So either ask them questions, or you could put it into Edpuzzle, which Amanda talked about, if you're going to do a screencast, and have questions as they go along, like when we watch those. Wait, is Aaron still in here? Those amazing tutorials that they give us for professional development that are so fun because they ask all those questions along the way.
Yes.
If you go to my website, let me show it. On the bottom there, Gale, which is like it would be like $10,000 if I had to buy it, just offered all their resources for free. So if anyone's doing any type of research, there's like tons of great stuff on there. So I just kind of added that to it. There's free ebooks, primary sources, secondary sources, just everything is on there. The screencasting one, Screencastify, Screen-O-Matic, Flipgrid, Loom, Edpuzzle are ones that we might talk about down in the future. If you guys are interested in that or anything else, please let me know. I'm going to be online watching tutorials, doing videos, and trying to figure out ways to make your life easier. Send me problems, anything, email me, call me. I was on this week with a teacher. It was actually easier to be on the phone. I was just on the phone, kind of going through sharing my computer screen. Like I shared my Google Classroom with them, was going over things on the phone. You know, any way you want to do it. But please email me. Keep me up to date of what's going on, and I'm going to try to do this every Monday, bring in different guests, and I think that's about it. Anyone have any questions? All right, well, I hope this was helpful. Thank you, Amanda, for coming to the first podcast. Thanks everybody for joining, and we're in this together. Let's do a good job and keep growing as teachers and be as good of teachers and learners as possible. Have a good one.
Bye, guys.